And for some reason, so if I put in the invincibility into this as a cheat code, I'm not actually playing the game. I can't shoot or anything. I'm actually in the demo mode, as you can see by the insert coin there. But because you don't die, it just kind of hangs up in the demo mode. And after about, well, I've got this going super fast, so I wouldn't know what to say. It would actually be in real time. But after, you know, the speed I'm going right now, it looks like I'm moving around at a normal speed. But actually, if I bring it down to a normal speed, I'm actually, you can see that's how fast I'm actually moving. That's it right there. And the grenades, the hurry up and get your butt moving grenades are still coming in. So go ahead and crank that back up. And eventually it either locks up on you or actually the whole thing crashes. It's pretty interesting, but I don't know what I'm picking up all these power-ups here, but they're not actually doing anything because I can push the buttons. And I'm not able to actually fire, but I've walked through the game and then you get that far and then it crashes. And I don't know if it crashes at different places. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with how far I'm actually getting in the game. It seems to have more to do with how long the game is running like that. And eventually, as you can see, it just kind of crashes on you. And that's Akari Warriors, the arcade version. Now we're in the Silkworm demo. And this is yet another one that isn't really a timed demo. I'm guessing the game is actually kind of playing itself. Because normally the characters will die. And once that happens, they start moving. Or they stop moving, actually. But once the demo loops back around, the control inputs start going in again. So we'll go ahead and speed things up here. As you can say, eventually we get to the boss. We actually kill the boss of the first stage. Now, normally none of this happens in the demo. You know, and we're at the second boss here. As you can see, the helicopter is kind of hung up there at the front. And the Jeep's kind of hung at the bottom. And they're not really doing anything, but if we speed it up again, you know, eventually it just loops. I think the boss actually kind of destroys itself. I know it gets to a point where there actually is a stopping point. I think this is the boss right here, where it eventually, eventually the boss just keeps looping around, and since the Jeep and the helicopter aren't actually doing anything, they're just kind of sitting there staring. The thing is I've played with this one before, and see, eventually they do start moving around again, and the boss is actually taking damage here. So eventually, they will eventually kill the boss. So let's go ahead and speed it up, and there they go. They went and killed the boss. It's like, I think the entire game, it's going to play its entire self in the demo mode, except the arcade version just loops the last couple of stages. It's not like the NES version where it has like well-defined like end game. It's that old. It's a period of time. I think it's what 88, 89 is the period of time where they were kind of still making that transition between, you know, please keep putting quarters in us, and then, you know, hey, this is the home version of the game. It probably behooves us to have like a well-defined end game, because a lot of the early NES arcade ports did exactly what the arcade games of the time tended to do, which is just loop infinitely. The one that immediately springs to mind is Tiger Heli, Tiger Heli. How do you say that? Tiger Heli. So we'll go ahead and speed back up and get to the boss here, and as you can see, is the boss actually this might be another boss that runs away after a period of time. Let's find out. Boing, 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 boing. That's hilarious. Let's see if it actually runs away, because it doesn't. I don't think it's actually taking any damage at this point, because I think the way the Jeep is shooting, it's not going to deliver any damage, and yeah, the helicopter's not actually damaging it at all either. And unlike in Akari, I have no controls in this one, so can't control the demo. So this might be where this one comes to an end. And I'll go ahead and speed it back up and see what happens. Yeah, it's not gonna go. So anyway, that's that one. As you can see, if there were some way, well, no, hold on. See, this is this is why you just leave it going. See, the Jeep moved back. If we can get him to start firing again, he might actually kill the boss. Granted, very slowly, but even so. I don't know, let's watch and see. Let's find out what happens here. And the Jeep's moving around again. Is he firing? Nope, and the helicopter moved too. Oh, and there went the boss. It finally happened. Yes. See, I haven't been through this. Can you tell I'm doing this live? Because I've not done this before. So we got another one. Man, they took that one right out. The continue play will not be available after this stage. So yeah, the game is basically playing itself on demo mode. Now granted, I've got the invincibility codes turned on for both of the things here. So it looks like this guy again. So yeah, it looks like the game's just going to play itself. There it goes. And yes, this is a live recording. I'm not recording a voiceover for this. See, I'd like to say, well, it looks like we might be hung up again, but, you know, I've said that before. Now, the interesting thing with the Pac-Man demo is I'll let it kind of play out how it's supposed to play out here. As you can see, it's a set. These demos are a set of pre-programmed inputs, especially in these old arcade games. Essentially, the game is basically playing itself with a set of pre-programmed inputs. Now, we'll let him go ahead, and I'm going to show you what's supposed to happen in the demo here. Eventually, he hits a ghost and he dies. So what we'll do now is go into the cheat menu, and we'll turn on some invincibility here. And then once we get back to the demo mode, like the spot where he's normally supposed to die, as you can see, he's not dying. And he will eventually clear the screen if we speed up here. And I can actually tweak the inputs by changing both the... this has the speed hack, because I know some of you remember these old Pac-Man machines. Some of the Pac-Man would move really fast, and other ones it'd be the regular speed, and depend on whether or not that was the version that had the speed hack enabled. So what we can do here is go... Okay, so here's what's supposed to normally happen during the demo. The game plays itself for, I don't know, a minute or two. See the regular demo going on here. Interesting stuff, huh? So, anyway, let's get to the point. See, yeah, he dies right there. So what we'll do now is we'll go in and turn on invincibility. Now the next time the demo rolls around, you watch what happens. Yeah, he just kind of almost finishes the stage. And actually, we can actually make him finish the stage by tweaking the inputs. See, the inputs are going in as if the demo mode itself were just kind of looping around. So it's still receiving inputs from the game. But as you can see, he's kind of like stuck in a holding pattern here. He actually does, if we speed it way up, he actually does eventually finish the stage. But we can kind of actually help it along by going and enabling the speed hack that actually changes Pac-Man's... It changes how fast he moves, but it doesn't change the rate at which the controller inputs go in. And so as you can see, he's taking a different path. Now, still kind of avoiding that area there. But, again, where he's at on the screen when we actually change the speed hack will actually change his directioning as well. Though in this case, he seems to be locked into that same pattern. So, another thing we can do is we want to change, make the ghosts always edible before we turn the collision detection back on. And there he went. He went and he actually cleared the screen. Now you may not have seen what happened there because the game is playing itself incredibly quickly. But what's happening is I've enabled it so he eats the ghost regardless of what happens. And you see he's just kind of stuck in a loop there, but he does eventually get out of it. And essentially, whenever he eats a ghost, the game kind of pauses itself while it would normally play the animation. And see, there he goes. He finished another stage. That works most of the time. Usually the randomness of the ghost will keep the controller inputs changing to where eventually Pac-Man will finish every stage. But then sometimes, see, he just finished another stage. So as you can see, the demo is just kind of playing itself. And that's what this is. And if you just let it go normally, it'll stick into a holding pattern. But as you can see, if you introduce that element of randomness by having him interact with the ghosts and the collision detection actually changing the timing of the controller inputs, well, as you can see, he is actually playing the game. He's not playing the let me just finish another stage here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. He's going to finish another stage. Come on! Down the center. Yeah, there's one side. There's the other side. Now, you can't see the indicators for the stage there, but he actually is... You see that there? The pair just appeared for a second? He actually is playing through the game. It's not just looping the first stage. And again, to make this happen, I had to do all kinds of tweaking and stuff, but I find it interesting, and this works fairly well in both Miss Pac-Man and Super Pac-Man as well. Though Super Pac-Man's a little more challenging, but I'm going to give it a shot. Now we've already got it going in Miss Pac-Man. Now, believe it or not, Miss Pac-Man is actually... Because I believe there were actually instead of just looping the same demo over again, I think there were 2 or 3 different actual demo demonstrations, I guess I should say. So Miss Pac-Man doesn't require as much tweaking to get her playing the game, but she does require the same kind of tweaking. Because again, we have the speed hack here, so let's turn that on and see if that gets her moving. See what happens here. But then again, it's probably going to be largely be reliant on introducing the element of randomness by having her eat the ghosts. Yeah, it just seems to kind of be looping around. So what we'll do is we'll go back and not do that. And once we introduce the randomness with the ghosts, again, as you can see, the game starts cranking along, and I think it even attempts to play the it attempts to play the intermission. Is that the word? But you can see it crashed the game. So Miss Pac-Man, easier to tweak out, but not quite as stable as Pac-Man in terms of having it mess with the demo. Let's see if we can actually... It might be because I have that turned on. Let's turn everything off here. And the game just resets itself, so yeah. There you go. I could play with it for a bit, but I'm not going to. Pretty much everything you can do in Pac-Man, you could do in Miss Pac-Man. Now I find Super Pac-Man to be a much more difficult prospect, but you can still do it. So we got the same thing going on here. And I do have this one turned down a little bit, so it's a little easier to see. But we can do the exact same thing here. Actually, we have two options here. We can set the invincibility, and we could set the super pills. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that up front, because I tried this once, and it was a hard time getting him to eat the super pills. Yep, and there he goes. Because you get him to, you put him in infinite super mode, and he just kind of eat his way through the doors and stuff. The problem is Super Pac-Man moves around really, really fast, and so he mostly just tends to hug the corners of the screen. So it's like, you don't want to leave that on, because that's all he does is just move around the outside, because the inputs are coming in really, really fast. But then if we... again, tweak it so that he's getting the standard inputs. He does tend to still hang out in the corners of the screen, but he does eventually start moving around and eating stuff. This one takes, like I said, Super Pac-Man is a slightly more difficult prospect as far as like getting him to complete stages, but it can be done. I've done it once before. It took a good while of both me turning... Yeah. That's a good one, too, is Ghosts Stay Blue Until Eaten. See if... But yeah, mostly he's just moving around. See there, you can see he ate a little bit there. Yeah, it takes a while. He does eventually get around to finishing the stage. But man, oh man, does it take a while. And it can't, and this, I don't have a cheat code for this one that makes the ghosts edible all the time. And so it's hard to, the only way to introduce that element of randomness is just kind of, is really the super pill thing. Because he doesn't have a, there's no speed option for Pac-Man in this one either. So, I'm gonna hang out for a minute and watch this one and see if he actually finishes the stage, and if he does, I'll show it to you. If not, then he obviously didn't finish the stage. But I'm gonna give it a few minutes because I have actually left these emulators running for like upwards of an hour doing my experiments. Well, you can see my other videos. So I'll be back in a second. Well, unfortunately, you can see he got a little bit more of the stage done, but eventually just gets to a point where he just kind of hangs out up in that corner there, and no matter how much I tweak it or speed the game up, he just doesn't do it. He just sits in that corner up there, and the ghosts just kind of loop around. Though it's interesting, what's interesting though to note is it does make it seem like the algorithms for the ghosts are different in this game. That or just the demo's been running so long that it's just borked out, and they're all just kind of wandering around aimlessly. They've gone into like permanent, what was it called? Permanent retreat or permanent home base mode, I think is what it's called in the other games. So, oh well, I gave it a shot. I let it run for about 20 minutes at super duper speed, and I just couldn't get it to do anything. Doesn't look like it's going to, so. But that said, I am actually able to, through the cheat menu, finish the level. And it just goes back through the demo, so. Yeah. And I could probably keep playing with this and eventually get it to work, but I'm not going to. The time investment's just not worth it. Now, here's an interesting one. Put it in Reagan-Trad for the SNES. Same deal. Invincibility code, right? As you see, the demo starts playing itself as normally, and normally we're supposed to die. And that is when the demo kind of resets. Now, see, that would have been one guy. And I think the other guy just died right there. So, as you can see, they're taking hits. And then they just kind of zoop around a little bit. And we reach the boss here. Now, the boss is an interesting thing. Because they just keep playing it. And eventually, it seems like they both just run away. One decides, it's like, I'm bored. I gotta go. You know, and I think he's like, I don't even need these tracks either. You know, what do I need these tracks for? I gotta go. I'm late for work. I gotta go. And then, and then the same thing happens with the other guy. And he'll sit here and he'll contemplate and he'll zip around a little bit, and then he decides, oh, gotta go. I'm late. And then it just kind of ends. They don't do anything after that. I can't control them. I don't have any controls. And I've sat here for quite a while on fast forward just to see if anything was actually going to happen. And no, it just kind of bugs out at this point. So unfortunately, we don't get past the first stage. But it would have been awesome if we could have made the whole game play itself on demo mode. That would have been pretty interesting. Oh well, it was worth a shot. See you next time.